Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Focus TV. Got Octavia Wyatt, Cardell W. Jr. You got Raymond Lyons. About to mess up your whole name, right? Whole name. About to butcher it. Kobe Jr. Look, man, there's been a lot going on. We got double duty tonight. The Wizards, we had some time off from the Wizards. They came back with a vengeance. It's a lot going on. Wars are difficult for me at this moment. All right. So we got a lot planned for you guys tonight. We're going to give you the latest on George Washington, Maryland women's basketball. Raymond's going to provide a Wizards update. Octavia's going to let you know what she thought of the conference championship round in the NFL playoffs, as we now know the two teams that will be representing both the NFC and the AFC in the Super Bowl. Got the latest 9-4-50 breakdown and more. But what we're going to start with, just going to take some time to just remember Kobe Bryant on this day. But first, I want to wish the families of all who were lost on this day a year ago nothing but peace. It has to truly be a trying day, especially on social media. May Kobe, Gianna Bryant, John Altobelli, Gary Altobelli, Alyssa Altobelli, Christina Mauser, Sarah Chester, Peyton Chester, and Era Zobian rest in peace. We also want to acknowledge the sudden passing of Sekou Smith, a great NBA reporter and journalist. I'd also like to extend praise to his family during what has to be a tough time as well. As mentioned, want to just take a couple minutes just to share some moments. I'm sure it was hard. I know it was hard for me to kind of limit what moments stood out to me in Kobe's illustrious career, because there's so many. Every time I was about to pick one, another one popped in my mind. The worst thing that happened to me was I got on YouTube to search, and that just threw me off for like 30 minutes. I went down a YouTube rabbit hole and watched the Kobe clips. But Ray, we'll start with you, then Octavia, and then Cardell.
All right. It was just a tough day overall. Even leading up to it, I really didn't know how I was going to feel. But yeah, man, it's difficult as anyone can imagine. And I just kind of monitor my intake today. But in regards to Kobe, this honestly was surprisingly easy for me, because two things really stand out to me when I think about Kobe, in regards to basketball. And they're really two kind of random moments. So my favorite Kobe play is actually from a preseason game. It was from very early in his career. They were playing the Wizards in Mexico City, and he did the crossover at the top of the key, then went down and jumped from the dotted line and dunked on Ben Wallace. This is the first play I can vividly remember from Kobe, when it just made my jaw drop, and I was like, this young guy's on to something. I'm pretty sure everyone's seen that a million times. But that it just continues to ring out to me. Every time I think about Kobe, I think about this play. It's just, as you can see, it's just amazing, man. And just, the way he just imposes will on them like that. And and during that game, he also had another play. He went baseline, and that time business decisions were made, which was probably the smart thing to do. But yeah, man, that play just always sticks out to me. It's one of my favorite plays from him. And my favorite Kobe moment is it's another random one, but I'm sure everyone's seen this video as well. It's when he was just, basically verbally tearing his teammates to shreds in practice. That sticks out to me, because that just personifies who Kobe is. The ultimate competitor, never accepting anything less than perfection. He's just challenging you every step of the way. If anyone hasn't seen this, I'm going to try to set the stage as quickly as I can. This was a season the Lakers were struggling. They had a lot of young guys on the team. They weren't performing well. And I believe this was after they had just won a game after losing like 8 in a row. And then they had that obnoxious post-game interview with Nick Young, Jeremy Lin, and Jordan Hill. And they played it for Kobe on I want to say he was on Jimmy Fallon or something like that, and they played it on the screen. And he was just stone faced. So I believe this is the next practice after that. I could be wrong, but I know these events are were close. But during his practice, he's just giving it to him. He go to Jeremy Lin and they're taking a shot he didn't want to take. And of course Jeremy Lin missed, and you can see it in his face. He's just at that point, Kobe's just mentally got him. And then he's just challenging him. He said in this clip, he says, I see why we lost 21 games or what have you up to that point in the season. And he's like, this is what happens when I'm not here. Yeah, I see why we're losing. And that's just who Kobe was, man. The ultimate competitor. He held you to the standard of perfection, never giving anything less than 100%. And, this is how I would want my franchise player to behave. If you want the cuddly team leader, then that's perfectly fine as well. If that's garnering the results you desire. But this is the brand of leadership I like. Whether it be from a coach or a player or what have you. And I've never been a star player on any team, and I've played with players like this, that have this mindset, and it didn't bother me at all. I've had coaches that coach with this type of intensity and that mindset. When I coached with this type of intensity. So, this is just, I think, I think this is something that needs to be shown. It can't be all holding hands and saying everything's going to be okay. You got to be challenged at some point if you're going to maximize your potential. And I think this situation from Kobe just kind of wraps that up in a nutshell. So, yeah, man, those are my the two Kobe Bryant moments that stick out to me.
All right, Octavia.
So I'm gonna keep my kind of short and sweet because I'm gonna be completely honest. I was a novel Kobe fan. I always respect the game, so you gotta respect him. But of course, in that era, I had other favorites. But that doesn't take away from the type of player Kobe was, or the type of person he was. To me, the first thing that comes to my mind as far as his play is just going to be the free throws after he tore his Achilles. Just because it shows how dedicated and how locked in he is. Most people wouldn't have shot those free throws if you already knew your Achilles was torn. A lot of them would have sat it down and took it back to the locker room. But just to see Kobe's mentality and his drive and his willingness to push himself to still go out there and compete for his team regardless of how he's physically feeling, just shows you how much of a team player he was, how much of a leader he was. And it just shows you how much guts he had, and how much, for lack of a better term, ego he had. Like, he knew he had to do that. So that's probably the first thing I always think about, because I don't know many players that would have stood out there and did that. And actually shot those free throws in the midst of knowing that your Achilles is torn, and then just to see him kind of like limp off the court afterwards, like, how hard it had to have been. Because, like, to me, that's the scariest injury. Like, I just can't imagine, like, the back of my ankle just snapping. Like, I don't know. That's a part that might be a reason why I gravitate towards this play. But that was the first thing I always think of. And then the second thing that I always think of is a clip from him actually sitting on the sideline with his daughter, Gigi. And you can see them diagnosing the play and talking about what's going on in the game. And those type of things always resonate with me, being a girl who played basketball, whose dad was her coach. Just to see them sitting there and like breaking down the play and talking about it, and knowing those conversations that I've had with my dad growing up over the years, especially with him being a girl dad, having no sons, and everybody was just like, oh man, Kobe doesn't have any sons. Everybody's looking for Kobe to have a kid, go to the NBA. And for it to be his daughter, and it's that one daughter that bought in, that wanted to be just like him and do the things just like him, like, that will always hold a special place in my heart. Just to see them, talking about it, him being so involved in her game, not being, for lack of a better word, upset, because you can't be upset because you have all girls, but some guys want to keep trying until they get that son. But for him to just embrace that, I have a daughter, she loves the game, and I'm going to treat her just the same as I would anybody that loves the game. But yeah, those two are definitely the first things I think about. I still think about finding out about this last year, and I just remember like sitting there and just seeing all of these tweets and messages pop up on my phone. And I'm like, this isn't true. TMZ is doing something crazy again. This isn't happening. But I even saw, like, I have this app that shows you stuff that you posted on the day, a year to the date, and I just remember saying like Woj reported it, and like Woj is never wrong, and it was just like once I saw that, that's kind of when it hit me like this is really happening, because like Woj not going to put something out there that that serious that's not true. So much love and respect and blessings to their family, because I can't imagine what they're going through, and they have to relive this day every year, as big as a person that Kobe was, and having to see so many tributes and things of that sort. It's hard to grieve. And then of course the families of the people who aren't Kobe and aren't Gianna, they still have to deal with this every year, being associated with this. And and I hope that they know that everybody does still have their families in their heart as well, because I know it can feel like they get overshadowed by the Kobe and Gianna situation. But just prayers to all of their families and all the people that were affected in that situation.
Definitely. Cardell?
Obviously, the first two things with Kobe is that I miss with him being gone is obviously being a father and have a young daughter that's crazy about basketball. He was kind of the example I looked at to kind of navigate her as she moves up through the ranks, as she grows and whatnot. Obviously, what we do, being in covering basketball in the media, then being a scout, being a former player. She don't understand it yet, but it's gonna be expectations for her to be able to hoop, at a high level. Once they, find out she's my daughter or whatnot. And obviously with Kobe being, all-time legend, it was worse for his daughter. You know what I mean? So just kind of seeing how he navigated things with her was something I took to kind of apply to my daughters as they grow and they play the game. And also, he was the bridge. He was the bridge between, I guess you could say, when Jordan and them era, Barkley, Ewing, and all those guys, started retiring. Then, his era took over with the KGs, the Duncans, or what AIs or whatnot. And then the LeBrons and all those guys came in, and he's kind of been the bridge to carry on the lessons he learned from the Jordans, the Ewings, and the Barkleys, and Jerry West, all those guys, to make sure those lessons don't get lost. And, as the league, goes to different eras or whatnot. And, I feel like, obviously outside the personal things with the families, losing loved ones, fathers, daughters, uncles, cousins, whatever you have it. Basketball wise, I feel like that's the biggest blow, because right now it's just no one to really carry that torch like that, where everybody from this area was kind of open to listening to him. And when he spoke, they pretty much did. They went to him for advice, for lessons and whatnot. And I feel like you see it right now with the void, because, you see the tug of war between the older players and the current players right now. It was a little bit there before when he was alive, but it's worse now. And he was kind of the guy that can bridge that. And until we get that, it's going to be more and more of that. But obviously, I had my favorite Kobe moment, honestly, was the 2000 finals, Game 4. I feel like this was the beginning of him really becoming what we know him as, one of the best to ever do it. They're in Indiana. It's Kobe's first game since Jalen Rose, Zaza Pachulia, him by sticking his foot under Kobe when Kobe rose up for the jumper, and he sprained his ankle bad, missed a couple games, and the Lakers managed to go up 2-1 in the series. It's a pivotal game in Indiana. Shaq is dominating, but Indiana's hanging with him. And he goes in overtime, and I remember Shaq fouling out, saying, I think it was an offensive rebounding foul with him and Rick Smith battling for the board. And as legend have it, Shaq felt like he let the team down or whatnot, because Phil was pissed at him. Phil, if you see in the video, Phil's not even looking at him, because Phil told him, like, be careful. You're in foul trouble. Steve Javie is out there. We all know what it is with Steve Javie. He ain't really mess with Shaq like that. And he was like, if you be careful, because you will easily pick up your sixth foul, and that's on you. So don't do anything careless. And right then and there, that was something that could have been avoided. And legend has it, Kobe went to him, Shaq on the bench, and was just like, yo, I got you. Don't worry about it, I got you. And he went off in overtime. You know, he scored 8 of the Lakers' 16 points in the overtime period. He shot 4 for 5, which were all clutch shots, including a tip in with 5 seconds left. And he led the Lakers to a 121-18 win. They go 3-1 in the series, and the rest is history. I know the Pacers came back and won the next game, but they closed it off at home. Shaq get his first ring. I mean, but Kobe to kind of answer the call, being that young, 20, 21 years old, it was the birth of what he became. And that's big. I mean, think about it, 21 years old, you're supposed to be a senior in college. You know what I mean? And he had no fear. Went at a Hall of Fame shooting guard, Reggie Miller, got it done. And, the rest is history. I can only think of probably one other player in NBA history to be that young that delivered in the biggest stage in basketball, and that's Magic in 1980 when Kareem got hurt. And, with a 42, 15, and 7 later, I think he's the only one. So that was my favorite moment. It's just like, yeah, he on his way. The comparisons, the mic started being more strong and more warranted as it went along from that point. My favorite Kobe move, it had to be it was 2. I couldn't decide, man. One of my favorite plays of all time is against the Nuggets. Rob Ory throws the outlet pass to Kobe. Vincent Yarbrough's for the Nuggets was defending Kobe. Kobe catches in his stride, goes behind his back, jumps off one leg, and does a 360 on Vincent Yarbrough while they're in there. And I mean, that's why I believe in instincts more so. I mean, drills to keep your rhythm and stuff sharp, but your instincts got to be on point, because that was an instinctual play. There's no way in hell you're gonna be in the gym trying to work on doing that with a defender on you. Just your imagination won't even let you go that crazy. But for him to put that off in the middle of a game, it just tells you how sick his imagination mentality was. It was, it was just ridiculous. And my second favorite play was in the guard, and Latrell Sprewell, one of the best two-way guards at that moment, guarding him, pressing him real hard, and triple threat. Kobe drives right, goes baseline, does a reverse windmill right on Sprewell in the guard, and whole guard and go crazy. I mean, it was nasty because you didn't expect that dunk. You know what I'm saying? You thought you'd do a reverse layup, but he punched it on him, and that was Sprewell. He wasn't an easy win defensively. So, that's just another example that tells you how different Kobe was, man. And as I got a cover that, I want to share. I never really told nobody. It's just something I've been keeping on ice. But today's appropriate. I got a chance to cover the 2012 USA basketball. It was like a week-long celebration of USA basketball, and they had obviously the men's and women's national teams here, but they also had the Nike Global Challenge with all the top high school prospects, battling one another from around the world. You know what I mean? So it was basically the main location for basketball in the summer was here in DC, and it was beautiful to see. It was all over the place, Northern Virginia and in DC, so it was beautiful. But the main game came to Verizon Center, now Capital One, and the big thing was they're playing Brazil, and I know Obama came. So when Obama was coming, it changed everything. Like, I went from maybe it may take me 10 to 15 minutes to get into the media row, so it took me an hour. They was thorough with the security. So just to set the stage of how not on edge, but how different it was, with the environment and stuff like that was packed. I mean, reporters from all over the world. It was just a ridiculous environment. To this day, I haven't really experienced anything like that. So obviously, USA when playing, they win, and you start to see Kobe's still there, but he's at the end of his prime. And I always say that's kind of when you knew LeBron was about to take over, because even though everybody deferred to Kobe, it was just clear LeBron was the guy. He coming off his first championship, and he made it look easy, like what he's still doing. And that's when I feel like he became the best player in the world. But with that said, Kobe didn't really care about scoring or whatnot. He focused more on defense. And one thing I noticed defensively during that game, which he did with the Lakers during those wars with the Phoenix Suns, Leandro Barbosa, which was the starting point guard for Brazil, everybody knew he was the fastest player in the league at the time. He was a blur. So Kobe wouldn't guard him like he did everybody else. He wouldn't get down low and try to frustrate you and just attack you defensively. What he did, he would get halfway low, and he would still kind of be standing up with his arms spread out, but he would try to take away Barbosa's angles. And with the Lakers, he would try to send them to Lamar Odom or Pau Gasol or Andrew Bynum so they could trap him, the size of, kind kind of disrupt him. And we all know Barbosa, who's fast and a great scorer, he wasn't the best playmaker. So that was the goal. I saw him do that with USA basketball too, you know, sending them to if KD was in the backcourt or whatnot. So obviously USA wins. And in the post game, Kobe's answering questions right there. And then keep in mind, I literally just started in May, January 2012. So I'm green. I've never been in this type of stage before. So, and reporters from all around the world, people I grew up watching and listening to. So, you know, it could overwhelm most people. But for me, I always just try to keep it about basketball. So, you know, Kobe's still kind of locked in. He's answering questions when then it's a pause. So I just jump in. And I brought that up about the defense, you know, his tactics to try to slow Barbosa down and whatnot. So at first, Kobe was looking at me serious, so I didn't know how he was going to take it. You know, he could be sarcastic in post games and stuff like that, you know, joking around. But he looked at me and just started smiling. So I expected something smart to come. I'm like, all right, here we go. But he was like, wow. He's like, that's the first real basketball question I got in all day. He's like, I could tell you must have played at a reasonably high level. Team would see that. Like, whoa. He's like, I'm gonna have to change some things up because he said if reporters starting to see that, I know the opposition is, and he just reached out, gave me pound for even seeing all that, and he was like, that's impressive. Then he went into detail and answer about, yeah, I mean that's the goal with quicker players, try to crowd them, take their angles away, make them more comfortable, and use what we got an advantage of, which is our size, and force them into tough shots, or you know, definitely make bad passes, which is how USA blew them out eventually. They was making cross-court passes, Brazil was. And, you know, LeBron and those guys were just picking them apart, going down full court, putting on the dunk show. So that's just a story that I always remember and me being so young in the game and in the media, that let me know, all right, cool, I'm on my way. I could do some things in this business or whatnot. Because like I said, it's intimidating when you haven't been in front of these guys for the first time and you're not used to being in front of people, especially somebody like Kobe's stature. I'm at elementary school when he hit the league, you know what I mean? So it's different. You know, you literally grew up watching this guy. So when you see him and he give you props for the work you're doing and the details and stuff you put in, it stamps everything. So now it's just a matter of just staying the course. So, I mean, that's a cool story. I mean, the only person that I knew outside myself was my wife, but, you know, that's just something I carry with me, and that's what gave me the confidence to continue to do what I'm doing now.
I gotta follow that up.
Ready for the first
man, hey, look, I almost want to forgo my little comment. I was going to say one of the first things. It had also, like Cardell, with that 2012 Olympic team. Like we said, you know what time it was with Bron, Wade, KD, like that next group was on full display on that roster. And what I like more so than anything is, like, even with him in the position he was in, close to on the way out, he instilled what made him all throughout that roster. And it was just beautiful. And I like the fact that he was able he picked his spots, like Cardell was saying, defensively, but even offensively. When it was time to go get busy, he did. But I like the fact that he was also, you know, like, comfortable enough to kind of fall back at times, like the gold medal game against Spain. Him, Bron, and D-Wade were on some other stuff. And, you know, Spain wasn't playing around. Spain, that was a really good Spain team. But I just like again, I'm never gonna forget that. Yeah, we're still talking about some of those guys, you know, in that young group that was there, a little older than that. Man, Kobe was huge on that. His man, I'm trying to think of the right word. Just his presence was huge all over that group, especially when times got tough. So I was always impressed with that. The other thing, I think the one play that I picked, and again, it took me a little while. So 2006 playoffs, it's against the Phoenix Suns. Oh man, this was a tough one for me, but I think it was good defense to poke the ball away from Steve Nash. A couple plays later, it's off a jump ball. He gets the ball, goes right, elevates over 2 or 3 guys, and knocks it down. We already, you know, everyone always mentioned such a cold-blooded scorer, man. But that moment, that was literally one of those things where it, like, y'all know, like watching the John Wick movie when people always talking about him, like, oh, they're talking about the story, And they're like, oh man, like the story doesn't even live up to what happened. That was one of those perfect moments where it's like that's literally the stuff everyone's talking about. And it was just it was a beautiful moment. It was a cold-blooded dagger. Truly enjoy it. I know you guys are checking it out right now, but man, again, it was a lot. Again, Cardell, I'm gonna make sure from now on, man, I'm never going after you for anything. I gotta look out for you. I gotta do that to myself. But now, all jokes aside, man, again, it's nothing but just good feelings, good vibes, and prayers to all those families that were affected. Hope everybody found some time to reflect on this day. You know, each and every year is gonna not so much just for us, but each and every year, the impact that he had, the impact that all those wonderful folks had on so many different people's lives, gonna be remembered each and every year. So we're gonna take our first break when we get back. GW Maryland women's basketball, quick updates, and we'll take care of that when we get back. You're watching the Focus TV. All right, welcome back to the Focus TV. As promised, gonna update you guys on some local women's basketball on the collegiate level. Carter, we'll start with you with GW Women's. Just said I was going to follow you no more, and we're going to do it again, but go ahead.
Hey, I'm gonna start with the men's side. COVID strikes again. They released a notice due to, I believe, last night, due to the continued pause on basketball activities after positive COVID testing within the Tier 1 of the GW men's basketball team. The upcoming games at George Mason on Wednesday and against Fordham on Saturday have been postponed. In accordance with the guidelines, policy, and protocols, personnel are now undergoing additional testing before practice and competition can be resumed. Also, another note from GW men's former GW point guard Jameer Nelson Jr. has transferred to Delaware. If folks don't know, his father, Jameer Nelson Sr., longtime St. Joe's great, longtime BA veteran point guard, is on the front office GM of the Delaware G League team right now. So makes sense, close to home, pops right there. Everything's a fit. You just got to rock out, man. I know he has the talent, you know what I mean? So wish him all the best. For the women's side, their rally fell short in a 63-61 loss to St. Joe's. Ali Burgum finished with 16 points to lead the Colonials. Point guard Jasmine Whitney added 12 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and Sydney Zambrata posted 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. St. Joe's was led by Elena Gribble, who scored a game-high 17 points on 6 of 11 shooting from the field, 5 of 9 shooting from deep. Katie Jacott added 14 points on 4 of 7 shooting from deep. GW actually jumped out to a 28 first quarter lead, after forcing 6 turnovers in the period, which led to 11 of GW's 20 points. St. Joe's responded in the second quarter, blitzing GW from 3. They knocked down 7 out of 9 from 3-point range, outscoring GW 29-8 in the second period to take a 37-29 lead at the half. In the second half, the game went back and forth, but GW wasn't able to stop the Hawks' 3-point shooting, with St. Joe's finishing the game shooting 46% from deep. GW dropped to 4-9 on the season, and St. Joe's improved to 4-1. GW Women's will next face VCU tomorrow at noon.
All right, as for the Maryland women's basketball team, it was a tough loss last night. And congrats to Ohio State, man. It's back-to-back conference wins. The Big Ten is far from sweet, one of the better conferences in the country. Last night, they beat Maryland. The game before that, they held on despite Nas Hillman going for 50 to beat Michigan. Last night, they held on to beat Maryland 88-86. The Buckeyes trio of guards and Miller, Green, and Sheldon, they were amazing. Maryland switches a lot on defense, and they did a good job of making sure whichever one of them got a big, that they found their way inside the paint, and they did that all 4 quarters. As for Maryland, Ashley Owusu and Katie Benzin were huge. They scored 55 of the team's 86 points, 33 for Ashley and 22 for Katie. They also had 9 rebounds and 9 and 7 rebounds, respectively. The Terps, like literally in the first 5 to 6 minutes of the game, knew something was like a little off. They typically don't. They typically take care of the ball. They turn the ball over like 5 or 6 times. The Buckeyes had a lot to do with it early too. Sloppy passes against good teams, bad things are going to happen. Even though Maryland put themselves in a position to get late, despite all they were going through, Ohio State essentially, it's like a minute left. They just have to get the ball in and essentially just get fouled. Maryland's defense, it was ridiculous. They forced 3 consecutive turnovers off inbounds, but they couldn't convert. It was a tough shooting night for anyone not named Owusu or Benson. Chloe Bibby got a couple good looks late. One of the 3 fell. She's had a good year so far for Maryland, especially from beyond the arc. But they're not going to have a lot of time to get ready for the next game. Originally, they're going to have literally the rest of the week because their next game was slated for February 4th. Got a schedule update this morning. Maryland will be hosting Michigan State on Thursday at 4 p.m. in College Park. That game got moved up from its original scheduled date of February 10th. So my biggest thing looking at Thursday is how Maryland responds to what's clearly a flat effort against Ohio State. Michigan, the Big Ten, again, regardless of who it is and their record, they have to come out and play better than they did. So we'll see you on Thursday at 4. Ray, it's on you, sir. The latest with the Washington Wizards.
All right. They are currently playing Houston. First quarter just ended. Washington's up 29-26. Of course, this is the first time John Wall's facing his former team. He had some comments prior to the game. He said, this was a personal game for him. He felt like the Wizards thought he was done, and they weren't exactly honest with him. Regarding all the trade rumors. So that'll be interesting to see that develop. Wall played 7 minutes in the first quarter, had 7 points, 1 assist. For the Wizards, Bradley Beal is leading them in scoring with 9 points, also has 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Robin Lopez is following behind him with 6 points and 1 rebound. The Wizards, their roster still ravaged by all the COVID safety protocols. Isak Bonga and Anthony Gill found their way into the starting lineup tonight. They're just toughing through it, man. It's a difficult time for them. They just came off a 2-week hiatus basically against the Spurs the other night. They dropped that game 121-101. So they're just trying to work their way back into it. It's going as expected. They're doing what they can, playing as hard as they can. The energy is good. We just want to see where their legs and their lungs are later in the game. We saw them kind of run out of gas the other night, which is absolutely normal given the situation. But it's no rest for the weary. They're right back at it tomorrow night against the Pelicans. So hope those guys got some G2 on deck or something to get their juices flowing again before they get back in action. But yeah, man, they got a tough road ahead. But it seems like the morale is still good, for the most part, given everything that they're going through. And Brooks has just got to lead them. Brad Beal and Russell Westbrook, they got to take these young guys through this difficult time and just hope they come out on the other end better for it. So yeah, man, we'll keep updating you guys. And hopefully, the Wiz can squeeze out some wins sooner or later. But yeah, man, right now for them, I'm pretty sure it's just mostly about getting back in shape and getting their legs under them and getting back used to doing things at game speed.
Definitely agree there. And just a reminder, after each and every Wizards game, we got Wizards Outlooks. If you follow us on social media, you guys already know that. If you're not following us, you're already missing out on that. If you're a Wizards fan, Ray, Cardell, myself, take some time, look at the game that just passed, and just share very candid and objective thoughts on it. But we got the 9-4-50 breakdown, and then Octavia, we're going to talk to you about our conference championship round. Some people are sad, some people aren't at all. Some people want to leave. A lot of stuff going on in the NFL. Fun times. But the 9-4-50 breakdown, this week, Jimbo Hayward wanted to show us how to reject screens and what dribble move we don't want to use. Again, it's a breakdown of how to reject the screen and what dribble move we don't want to use. Check that out, and we'll see you guys on the other side of our second break.
to the mid-range shot, pull up, okay? It ain't speed, so we're gonna start here behind this line. Arm tight. Bring it down here, back down, or move here, turn. Up, okay? Start. Just start tight here. Now, once I start coming here, high. I got favorites. One shot, okay? One to the other. Never cross over because if he does, cross over. Okay? Alright? So, get to the mid-range shot, pull up, okay? It ain't speed, so we're gonna start here behind this line. Arm tight. Bring it down here, back down, or move here, turn. Up, okay? Start.
Welcome back to the Focus TV. As promised, Octavia, Wyatt's going to share with us what happened this week in the NFL.
We are finally down to the last two teams that will be playing in Super Bowl 55 this year. And one of the teams we predicted, the other team, a lot of people predicted before the season started as well. They just weren't how sure it was going to happen, but it did. First game that we had this past weekend in the NFC Championship game was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the number one seeded Green Bay Packers. And Tom Terrific got it done. It was 31-26. Tom was 20 of 36, 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Leonard Fournette had 12 carries, 55 yards for 1 touchdown, and 5 receptions for 19 yards. And then Chris Godwin had 5 receptions, 110 yards. Mike Evans, 3 receptions, 51 yards, and 1 TD. And Scotty Miller, 2 receptions, 36 yards, and 1 touchdown. And Cameron Brate got a touchdown in there as well. On the other side of the ball, we had Aaron Rodgers was 33 of 48, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Aaron Jones had 6 carries for 27 yards. And Marquise Valdez-Scantling had 4 receptions, 115 yards, 1 touchdown. Devontae Adams, 9 receptions, 67 yards for 1 touchdown. And Robert Tonyan, 4 receptions, 22 yards for 1 touchdown. I just think it's crazy that Tom Brady, who has won 6 NFL championships, or Super Bowls, whatever you want to call it, is the first quarterback to play a Super Bowl in his home arena. Like, nobody else has done this before, ever. Tom gets to Tampa Bay and does it in the first year. Can you really make this up? Like who makes this stuff up? But this is actually what's happening. Like, he is going to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl will be played in Tampa Bay this year. And, Green Bay had opportunities. And, again, it's another failed season for them in my mind, just because they've been here at this last game, NFC Championships. There was an NFC Championship last year. Couldn't get it done. They haven't been to the Super Bowl since 2010. And they haven't been able to get past the NFC Championship. So it's been really tough for them. It was a terrible day for them with their offensive line. Aaron Rodgers got just destroyed all night. It was the first time that I saw the weakness of Bakhtiari not being there ever since he went out, I believe, the last game of the season or the first game that they played in the playoffs. I can't remember. But he was running for his life. And all with that, and they still had a chance to win it. There was questionable play calling at the end, whether to go for it or not. And Matt LaFleur decided not to. And we see how that turned out. But, think about it. Even on the other side, the Tampa Bay was doing it without a couple players. AB didn't play. And he's been coming on as of late for them. So for him not to play, Antoine Winfield didn't play as well. So they were a little bit thin at wide receiver. If you count they had, of course, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who has been their go-to since before Tom was there, those were the two top number one wide receivers. But, you know, their wide receiver play was getting better. So for them to still get it done, you know, without those key players, and especially because both of them, like most of them were like game time decisions, so they didn't know far in advance. But they got it done. Like, I really don't have any other words but to say that they went in there and they did. They won all of their games on the road, you know, in the playoffs to get all the way back to have the home game basically in the Super Bowl. Like, you can't write a better ending to a season for them. You can't write a better ending for whatever this is going to be for Tom Brady. Not saying that this is his ending, because who knows, he'll play 12 more years and figure out a way to do it. And you know, I guess we could finally kind of put to rest, you know, the rumor or the thought process, was Tom making Bill better? Was Bill making Tom better? We see Tom still got it done. And they made it look so easy, kind of. You know, it was a good game, but I just really thought that this was going to be Green Bay's year. I really thought that their number one seed, you know, their defense was coming on late. Their offense was spot on. They didn't really get a running game this time. You know, their leading rusher had 27 yards. Can't really win in a game like that when, you know, you can't move the ball on the ground. So, as opposed to, you know, another side, but Tampa Bay is going to the Super Bowl in their own home stadium, and it's never been done in all 54 Super Bowls. Like, that to me it's just crazy. I just couldn't imagine that. And on the AFC side, we had an AFC Championship game. The Buffalo Bills played against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the team that we all figured would be there anyway was the Kansas City Chiefs. Were victorious. They beat the Buffalo Bills 38-24. Josh Allen was 28 of 48, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. He had 7 carries for 88 yards. Devin Singletary had 6 carries for 17 yards. Cole Beasley had 7 receptions for 88 yards. Stephon Diggs, 6 receptions, 77 yards. Dawson Knox had 6 receptions for 42 yards and 1 touchdown. And Isaiah McKenzie had 1 reception, 6 yards for 1 touchdown. On the other side, Patrick Mahomes, 29 of 38, 325 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, 5 carries for 5 yards. Darrell Williams had 13 carries for 52 yards and 1 touchdown. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 6 carries for 7 yards and 1 touchdown. Tyreek Hill had 9 receptions, 172 yards. Kelsey had 13 receptions, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And McCole Hardman, 2 receptions, 4 yards, and 1 touchdown. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes at this point. Like, there's not really much to say. It's Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is a beast. I don't know. I really tried to keep it short and sweet for this segment, and I mean, Mahomes has outplayed Josh Allen in this game, and that's I'm not saying that's tough to do because it's Pat Mahomes, but Josh Allen is no slouch as we've seen as the season has progressed this year. But Mahomes just makes it look so easy and effortless. Like, even coming off of having a concussion last week, to still have the mindset, the skill, you know, just the IQ to do what he does. He has an amazing weapons around him, from Tyreek Hill to Kelsey, of course, and all these other great players. And to think, you know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been dealing with an injury. This is, you know, he's still trying to get back in his stride. Le'Veon Bell didn't play this week. He'll play in the Super Bowl. You know, they have the track stars and Tyreek Hill and McCole Hardman. And they have Andy Reid, you know, again, one of my favorite coaches ever. And it was just, I really have no words. Like, it's just, I knew that they were going to be here all year. I knew that the only way they wouldn't be here this year in the Super Bowl is if the only team that could beat them in the AFC would have been the Bills. And we saw how that didn't happen. And it's going to be tough. Like, I mean, Tom is Tom, and You know, Patrick and Tom have had their battles already. You know, when Tom was still out in Boston, but I don't think it's gonna work out. I don't think it's gonna happen for him, but because I mean, I don't even remember which player it was that plays for the Chiefs that was like, yeah, we're going to go to the Super Bowl not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not like. And as much as I hated when he did that, like, I'm like, all right, you might not have been.
You hated it. I got to see this shit again, man.
And I just feel like you don't put that type of, you know, things out there in the air. But I mean, obviously they're backing it up at this point. So not next week, as we always have the week between the NFC and AFC championships and the Super Bowl. They will have this Pro Bowl celebration thing that they're doing that nobody's going to watch, but that'll be next week. And then the week after that, we'll get into Super Bowl championship mode, and I'll be ready to go by then.
My thing is with the Bucks, who's gonna slow down? And I don't mean how he look. I call him Nightcrawler because that boy's so fast, it's like he teleport. Who gonna deal with him?
Nobody.
That's my point exactly, dog.
Nobody.
Do you understand the pain this team has caused me? And I would love to see the Chiefs get punished. The Broncos and me would love to see that, but yeah, man. It might hide the enemy. The enemy got a chance. Hide the enemy. Help me out.
Hey, that's the crazy part. That's the best defense. That's the best defense folks can play on the Chiefs, and y'all don't want to hire a black man. So it was quiet. So
yeah,
I know like the whole he don't call plays things. So he's the red zone play caller. For those of you that don't know, y'all know what their percentage is in the red zone. All of it. That's what their percentage is. All of it. They take what they want. There's nothing you can do about it. I know y'all love the Tom story. It's cute. It doesn't matter. All right? It don't matter. I like the Bucks defense. It's cute. They think they got fast people. They don't. None of them dudes is fast enough to deal with any of that stuff. Like Cardell said, Cardell only mentioned Nightcrawler. What's Miko? Did you see what Miko gave up a touchdown and then what did he do afterwards? Whatever he wanted. We didn't get to Kelsey. Lord, we didn't get to Kelsey. The Browns put their number one corner who's they paying big bucks to. My man was like, go back to the outside, get this work. Hit my man on a jerk route, dude fell down. Denzel Ward is insanely athletic and was on the turf because the tight end shook him there. Look, Tampa Bay, I appreciate it. It's been a cool story. It's been wonderful. It's a wrap, dog. I don't care. Like, I'll be wrong. It is cool, man. They're going to put 50 up on y'all. Y'all keep running your mouth. Talk about them like that. Carlton Davis, all y'all little corners. Ain't none of them slant boy. You're not guarding Mike Thomas, dog. This is 4x1 Olympic speed. Y'all done. I don't care about no pass rush. I don't care about none of it. Dog. And that's all I saw people talk, oh man, Tampa Bay pass rush. Bruh, are you going to get the pat by the time they get by you? My money's on Tyreek and them. Like, what we doing?
Don't do that.
These boys taking end arounds for 60. For 60 in end around. Other people run end arounds because it's a trick and it's just to change things up. They run end arounds for keeps. For 60. Then there was one play, they hit Tyreek on the sideline. This boy mad because he almost stopped like a gymnast out of mid-pirouette to keep his foot in bounds, and he was going to house another one. Who pray tell's going to deal with that? Like, what are we doing? And then again, I love Tom. They threw 3 picks in the second half. That's you going to give Patrick Mahomes the ball 3 times and you think the score's going to stay the same? That's not Green Bay. That's not Green Bay. I gotta stop. Let this go, man. It's a good story, whatever. They got there, dog. Yeah, thank you, BB.
Cool story, bro. First quarterback to play in a hometown, home thing, and lose.
And get housed.
Have that too.
and get housed. And the reward, Patrick Mahomes in there. Like, get out of here, man.
They gonna win by
3 picks again. No, I think they put up 50. I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, you threw 3 picks against Green Bay defense.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Cardell tell you firsthand. The little Chiefs dude, they play man to man out there. They don't even care because even if you do score, they like, hey, you're not gonna stop Pat. They don't even care.
Right.
Yeah, their offense is their defense. That's the problem. They want to just get the ball back. It's damn near sometimes like hurry up and let them score so we can get back. Then let's go. It's ignorant, dog. I'll never forgive them for what they did in my Broncos a few years ago. What was it, 50 and a half? They put 50 on the half, dog. It was like 20-something in the quarter. Oh, man.
They hit my team the 2017 Golden State third quarter run in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. It was a 24-0 run in the Super Bowl after holding them for 3 quarters. I tell you, but man, you in trouble, dog. And my defense slow. You're in trouble. You in trouble. You in trouble.
When Vaughn can't walk you down, and he's one of the fastest linebackers ever going sideline to sideline. If he couldn't walk Tyreek Hill down, and Tyreek was a couple yards behind the line of scrimmage, and Vaughn read the pass, ran after him, and then Tyreek ain't even do nothing. He just ran straight, and Vaughn just tackled Edgar. It looked like it was disrespectful. So I was like, damn, our best defender can't get to him. So I was like, yeah, it's their division right now. It is what it is, dog. We got a long way to go.
Tre'Davious White is a pretty good corner to most people, right? The first time the Chiefs got the ball, they had this dude, they had Ty bracketed. He outran the bracket and just dropped the ball. You're in trouble, Tampa. He outran the double team. He outran a double team. Like, oh, y'all gotta let this go. It was cool. We got here. 50.
The only thing is,
50.
we done seen some strange things happen in the Super Bowl. Like a sprain here, a broken leg there. And then we got to hear Tom Brady's Tom Brady's the greatest athlete of all time. I told you, hear all that nonsense, man.
All I know is this. You better not turn the ball over to them dudes. It ain't coming back. It's not coming back. It's not coming back.
Yeah, that's 7. Yeah, that's 7. And the coaching ain't going to go for a field goal. You should be going for touchdowns.
That's the thing. They play differently. They play by 7. I don't even think their kicker does things.
Just kick extra points.
I don't know.
He just kick extra points. He kicks extra points. That offense like John Wick. And they go to kill. They out to kill, man.
It'd be 3rd and 18, and they dialed up a 3rd and 40 play because they have that. Like, oh, they not normal, man. And then the other thing I like last week, I like Josh Allen. He made a step this year, and it was great. If y'all don't leave Pat alone.
Yeah, it's no comparison. They're trying to find a storyline.
Like, let Josh
he's not there yet. He's good, but he's not there yet.
Yeah, they reaching.
He's definitely not good enough to throw the ball 48 times instead of running the ball. You went to go play the Chiefs and wanted to out Chiefs the Chiefs. Why? You want to go score with the Chiefs?
They reach for certain complexion quarterbacks. It seems. I've noticed.
No, they got to stop reaching. It's bad.
And the wild part,
it's bad. Go ahead.
And the worst part is Mahomes ain't that far from it. but he spoke out. So he spoke out. He spoke out. Now he's one of us. He can't go back, baby.
He definitely ain't that far. You think it'd be easy to champion that? So now we gonna just raise people who got no business in the conversation with him up there. Dog, ain't nobody fearing dude in Buffalo at the end of no game. I'm gonna tell you right now, before the game, you can do everything right. You said what?
Well, so you know how it work, man. Our peers in the media, they need a story, dog. Narrative reporters, right? Remember? Narrative reporters.
Nah, I know. All I got to say is, Hey, don't go too
The
far
facts
this
are
week
boring,
trying
bro.
to create something. I
The
guess.
facts are boring, bro.
I guess. Ain't gonna put 50 up on him.
Whew, John Wall. Woo. Oh, John Wall right now. God damn.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
I
How
knew it
about
would
that?
turn
We're
out
gonna
like
talk about
this,
that a
though.
little bit later tonight. Oh, yeah. A little bit
Chill
later
out,
tonight.
John.
'Cause
Chill, John.
I'm not emotionally mature enough to talk about John right now here on this medium.
Neither am
Hey, I
I.
want to thank y'all
It's
for
a
hanging
pissed
with us.
off owner right now. It's a pissed off owner right now. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Narratives and such. High characters. Let me get out of here. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. For Octavia, Raymond, Cardell, Wilson. Shout out to Rodney as well. This has been a fun edition of Focus TV. We truly appreciate you guys hanging with us each and every week. Don't forget, follow us all on social media under the Focus TV. It's that simple. The Focus TV. Again, Wizards are back. We got a whole lot of stuff going on. Too much stuff going on. So we can see you at least a few times a week. So wish you guys the best. Y'all have a great night. And don't forget on Friday nights, DCTV at 10 p.m. It's that simple.